rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are meeting in the White House today. The things they are discussing have huge prophetic significance. On today's program, we will discuss what they are discussing and how it all ties in to the prophecies of the end time. Stay tuned for a breaking news edition of End of the Age. Well, before we actually plunge in, because there is so much here, and I know that you're going to be fascinated by what's going on at our White House today, let me take just a moment to tell you about our next trip to the Middle East, to Israel and Jordan. Of course, it's a prophecy tour, as always. It will be a 15-day tour, April the 26th through May the 11th. Now, this is full of excitement because it's going to be our first tour to Israel since the United States of America recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Furthermore, we're on the brink of them moving the embassy. That's going to happen in May. So the dates for our tour are April the 26th through May the 11th. We need to hurry now because it's about time for the deadline. So if you're interested in going, please act immediately. Also, one more very important thing, and that is we're going to Jordan, which is full of Bible prophecy. The Bible prophesies that Jordan will never fall under the power of the Antichrist. We're going to stand where Moses stood on Mount Nebo when he looked into the Promised Land. We're going to go down to Edom, which today is called Petra, one of the 7 wonders of the world. I mean, this whole trip is just going to be a dream trip. So if you can go with us, give us a call right now, 1-800-END-TIME. Ask to speak to someone about the tour. That's 1-800-363-8463. Now, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu are having a private meeting today in the White House. And their discussions have to center around 2 huge prophecies, what I believe are the next 2 major prophecies scheduled to be fulfilled. One of those is the Palestinian-Israeli peace agreement, which will begin the final 7 years to Armageddon. Now, let's not go over that too fast. Are you really hearing me? I know I've said it repeatedly, but they're discussing at our White House today the prophecy. They're not discussing it as a prophecy, but we know it is. They're discussing the peace agreement that when it is achieved, and it's going to be achieved, will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon. Will they be discussing the details of it today? You better believe they will. So what's going on behind closed doors? Yes, I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear everything that's going on there. I'm not able to do that, but from the prophecies of the Bible, we can know what's going on, maybe even more than President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu know. We're going to talk about a lot of that today. They're going to undoubtedly be talking about the status of the peace talks. Remember, when President Trump came into office, one of the first things he said was, I want to make a deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis. It would be the ultimate deal. And of course, President Trump sees himself as a deal maker. He wrote a book, The Art of the Deal. So he says he wants to do this. As soon as he was inaugurated, he and his staff began to work incessantly on this Middle East peace agreement, back and forth and back and forth. His agents went. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was the leader of it. His longtime lawyer, Jason Greenblatt, was the main person doing the heavy lifting in this whole thing. I mean, just to show you how fervent they were, they met 20 times with Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinians, in the first 7 months. That's an average of 3 times per month. That's really engaged and involved. So they've been working on this thing. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up today is because it looked like a peace agreement could happen in early 2018, but here we are, and it's not happening. One of the first things President Trump did was to build a coalition between America and several Arab states, such as Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Jordan. So this coalition was being built, and Trump's idea was, let's not leave the Palestinians out there hanging alone. If we can get all these other Arab countries on board, then they will strengthen the hand of Mahmoud Abbas and also influence him, because they're funding the Palestinians. They can't stand on their own. They don't have an economy, at least a very workable economy. They're mostly living on international welfare from America, from the United States. I mean, the U.S. is giving $730 million a year here. And Saudi Arabia funds them, the United Arab Emirates funds them. So Trump wants to put together this coalition in order to strengthen and also to influence this coming peace plan. Well, after working on this for about 8 or 9 months, Abbas said to President Trump, give us the American plan. We've told you everything we feel. Israel's told you everything they feel. We're ready for the American peace plan.
We live in critical times. If the final 7 years started today, would you know what to do? God's people need to understand the prophecies that are taking place. Daniel 11:33 says, "And they that understand among the people shall instruct many." To guide the people around us, we must first receive instruction ourselves on the biblical prophecies of the end time. End Time Ministries is introducing the End Time 1000. We have created Jerusalem Prophecy College online to help you be ready to inform those around you. The goal is to have at least 1,000 people prepared to instruct others. By joining the End Time 1000, you can fulfill Daniel 11:33. Sign up for Jerusalem Prophecy College online and be equipped to guide your friends and loved ones during the final 7 years. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com. That's JerusalemProphecyCollege.com.
We got married in 2003. We clashed immediately. Everything seemed to be going wrong. We started following End Time Ministries, and we started going to End Time Bible studies.
About our life's never been the same. It's just been so powerful and so great, and God has done such a mighty work that saved my life, and it saved my soul for eternity.
God did use this ministry to literally bring us to Him and make the old man pass away and the new man come to life.
Thank you for giving to End Time Ministries.
Offering hope to people like us.
With every dollar, you change lives and provide hope for people just like Mark and Adrian. Thank you for giving to End Time Ministries.
So it was around September the 1st of 2017, and Mahmoud Abbas said to Jared Kushner and to Jason Greenblatt, all right, you've heard all the sides, but you know that we're not together. We need a bridge. We want you to give us President Trump's peace plan. And so he requested the plan. Well, then what happened next? It looked like, they began to work on it from September, October, November. Then comes December. Well, in December, it was time for Trump to sign the waiver again, stating that it would endanger America's national security to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Now, 44 times this had been signed by Presidents Clinton, by President George W. Bush, by President Obama. And a lot of people thought, well, Trump said he's going to move it, but he's going to be like all the rest. However, He shocked the world on December the 6th by announcing that the United States of America was moving its embassy to Jerusalem and recognizing Israel's capital, Jerusalem. Well, this produced a political earthquake around the world, condemnation by the United Nations. They tried to pass a resolution against the United States on the UN Security Council. They did pass a resolution, a non-binding resolution at the UN General Assembly. And the European Union was livid and condemning what President Trump had done. The Arab world was adamant against the action. Oh, you cannot move your embassy to Jerusalem. You cannot recognize Jerusalem as the capital. Of course, we've been through this many times on this program. After all, it had only been the capital of Israel for 3,000 years, and it's been the capital of the Palestinians 0 days. Did you catch it? It's been the capital of Israel since 1004 BC. And as long as there's been a Jewish nation, it has been the capital of Israel ever since that time, from 1004 BC until today, except for the time of exile, of course, when they could not have a capital. So it's been the capital of Israel. It's not one time ever been the capital of the Palestinians, but the Palestinians say we have to have it for our capital. And the United Nations wants it to be an international city so it can become the center of world government, since it's the place that God said, I will put my name there. And undoubtedly Satan said, oh, you're putting your name there? Guess where I want mine. Well, anyway, that's laying a little bit of the groundwork for where we are today. Well, the Arab world went crazy. Mahmoud Abbas said, I'm not dealing with Donald Trump and the United States anymore. They're not an impartial arbiter. Therefore, we're going to have to get somebody from the United Nations. We're going to have to get someone else to be the broker for the peace talks. And consequently, everything went into freeze frame for a while. However, President Trump said, well, look, I've just about got my plan finished. And many people urged President Trump to release the plan, including France, including Great Britain, including some of the Arab countries. Even though Abbas said, I won't even read it, I won't look at it, I won't listen to it. Yet at the same time, Trump said, well, there's some things that you'll like, and there'll be some things there you don't like, and there's going to be some things there that Israel likes, and there'll be some things Israel does not like. We have a plan. And some people said to Mahmoud Abbas, you better take a look at it. It's the only game in town. Who else is going to produce a plan? Nobody has the political leverage with Israel to get Israel to do painful concessions like will be necessary for there to be a peace agreement. Now, let me remind you, this peace agreement is prophesied in the Bible. And when they sign this peace agreement, it will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon. They're talking about this agreement at our White House today, ladies and gentlemen. You talk about living in prophetic territory. We're smack dab in the middle of it today. Well, I heard the first part of the comments of Netanyahu before he and Trump went back into the Oval Office. And he said to, Netanyahu said to President Trump, you will rate with King Cyrus of Persia. He's the king that gave the order for the Jews to be able to return from Babylon and to build their second temple. He said, you also will rate with Lord Balfour of the Balfour Declaration, which said that the promised land should become a homeland for the Jewish people back in 1917. And then he said, you're also going to rate right up there with President Harry Truman, who was the first to recognize the new Jewish state in 1948. So they're putting President Trump in a very exclusive position here. And Netanyahu said, Mr. President, Israel has a long memory. We'll never forget what you've done for us. Well, at first, part of the administration said, well, it's going to be a long time before we move the embassy. Tillerson said it'll be 3, 4, or 5 years before we can build a suitable site. And I listened to all this, didn't believe it. Well, sure enough, it wasn't long until Vice President Pence said, we'll probably do it before the end of 2019. And they kept moving it up, until now it was announced it'll be moved by May the 14th, which is the 70th anniversary of the celebration of the birth of the nation of Israel. And then guess what? They moved it up one more time to May the 10th, because there is a consulate in Jerusalem that was designed to be an embassy from the beginning, but they hadn't moved the embassy there, so they put the sign on the outside, consulate. The truth of the matter is, all they really have to do is change the sign from Embassy of the United States of America, from Consulate of the United States of America, and that's what it says now. I've seen it. I drove by there a year or so ago, to Embassy of the United States of America. Well, that's the building they've now announced they will use, and they will be making that the official Embassy of the United States of America by May the 10th, which of course is just slightly over 2 months from right this moment. Then comes this announcement yesterday that Guatemala says we're moving our embassy there. We're going to do it 2 days after the United States of America does it. Now Israel's hoping other nations will pile on, and the momentum will become so great until the United Nations can no longer condemn it. So those are some of the things that are going on right now. And could this be a last-minute check with Benjamin Netanyahu before Trump releases his peace plan? They're saying he could release it at any time. It's almost done. Now, I have one more question for us to consider today. Will Trump's peace plan be successful or fail? I don't know the answer to that. But there is going to be a peace plan, whether it's President Trump, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whether it's the United Nations, whoever ends up brokering the peace deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis, there is going to be a peace plan. Now, there's a lot of turbulence and a lot of discussion right now. Some things tell me, matter of fact, President Trump said today in his introductory remarks, we're working on the plan, we're going to release it soon, and we think we have a real good chance. Right now, the Palestinians say they're not coming back to the peace table. He said, but I think they may. And he said, what if they don't? I think someone even asked, a news reporter said, what if they don't? President Trump said, then there won't be any peace deal. Well, that has a lot of implications to everything itself, because if there's no peace deal, Israel keeps building and growing until eventually a peace deal will not even be possible, because the area that the Palestinians want for their new nation won't any longer be available. And Mahmoud Abbas knows that, and the world knows that. So it's very interesting, the dynamic we find ourselves in. Could we have a peace deal in the next 6 months? Yes, we could. But what if it doesn't happen? And it may not happen right now. It's going to happen. But maybe not right now, because there's another huge prophetic fulfillment in progress right now. There's actually 2 prophetic fulfillments in action, and they're both wars. There are 2 wars prophesied for the near future. The Euphrates River War, found in Revelation chapter number 9, verse 13 through 16, it simply states there that a war is coming that will start from the Euphrates River. And the result of that war will be the killing of 1/3 of the human race. Mind-boggling, I'm sure you agree. 1/3. I mean, there's 7 billion people right now. 1/3 is 2.5 billion. This war is coming. It's in your Bible. The prophecies never, ever fail. They always come to pass. So this war is coming, and it's going to emanate from the Euphrates River. Now, we know that Russia moved into Syria in 2014, 2015, in order to prop up the Bashar al-Assad government of Syria. In the meantime, ISIS was emerging in Syria and in Iraq. As a matter of fact, it happened so quick the world was caught by total surprise. By the fall of 1914, ISIS controlled 70% of Syria and 40% of Iraq. Now that's where all the oil is, basically, or much of the oil is. So now ISIS is awash in oil, and they have money coming in at the rate of $2 million a day. They became the richest terrorist entity the world has ever seen, barring none. So here ISIS, and we all saw it, they started beheading people. They burnt a Jordanian pilot alive inside of a cage, just did horrible things trying to inflict fear upon the world. Well, that resulted in Russia fighting against ISIS because ISIS wanted to replace Bashar al-Assad in Syria. So Russia came in and started fighting against ISIS in the western part of Syria, which is divided by the Euphrates River, by the way. And also they were fighting against other enemies of Assad. He had several different terrorist factions trying to take his government down. In the meantime, the United States said we can't sit idly by and let these horrendous atrocities take place. So we moved troops into Iraq and began to fight against ISIS in Iraq. Then we ultimately moved into eastern Syria and we were fighting against ISIS there. Well, this created a danger because we had a couple of close calls of America possibly shooting down Russian planes. Well, we don't want that because, after all, Russia and the United States are the two leading nuclear superpowers in the world. Between the two of them, they control 90% of the world's nuclear weapons. And the last thing we want is a nuclear conflagration between Russia and the United States. So Vladimir Putin of Russia and President Obama made an agreement in December of 2015 that Russia would fight ISIS on the east side of the Euphrates and the United States would fight ISIS on the west side of the Euphrates. Ladies and gentlemen, as I speak to you at this moment, Russia has many military bases on the east side of the Euphrates. The United States of America has, one report I just read says that we have 20 military bases on the west side of the Euphrates. So here we are in this situation. Now there's another thing I've got to put into this mix, and that is Iran. In the middle of the Arab Spring, Iran is maneuvering to reach her long-term goals, and that is to become a major power so it could be a world power like Persia used to be hundreds and thousands of years ago. They've been trying to put themselves in this position ever since. So under the cover of the Arab Spring, the first thing they did was put troops in Syria to prop up their friend Bashar al-Assad. In the meantime, over the years, they had fed a terrorist organization called Hezbollah in Lebanon. So Hezbollah is an arm of Iran, and they are getting stronger and stronger, and their goal is to destroy Israel. Lebanon, of course, is the northern border of Israel. So Hezbollah is getting stronger and stronger. When Iran moved in to fight against ISIS and the other terrorist organizations against Bashar al-Assad, so did Hezbollah. They moved in to fight. So both of them now are in Syria. Russia is in Syria. Then, because President Obama decided to pull out of Iraq in December of 2012, when this ISIS threat flared back up, we moved troops back in very rapidly. And we were sort of just in a stalemate until President Trump was elected, and he said, I won't mess around with these people. I am just going to absolutely obliterate them from the face of the earth. So all during his first year in office, we have been walloping the daylights out of ISIS, and we've been fighting on the east side, but there was a problem. President Trump did not want to reintroduce ground troops into Iraq, so Iran says, we'll do it. We'll provide the ground troops. You provide the air cover. So that's what we started doing. Actually, it started under President Obama, and it continued under President Trump. So now that Iran is getting stronger and stronger in Iraq, stronger and stronger in Syria, stronger and stronger in Lebanon, so we have this picture of Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Iran has long coveted a land bridge from Iran all the way to the Mediterranean So they would form somewhat of a Shia crescent because all of Iran's allies are of the Shiites, and their enemies are basically the Sunni Muslims. So that's what has happened. Iran now has the foothold in Iraq. They sent troops into Syria to support Assad. And now Hezbollah, the arm of Iran, has become a controlling force in Lebanon. So Iran is sitting here very happy, very satisfied. Furthermore, now then, Iran has said we are going to wipe Israel off the map. Israel will cease to exist by the year 2030 or 2035. Well, Israel's listening to this, and all the time, Iran has temporarily stopped making nuclear weapons because the deal that Obama did with them, and yet we know that's only a 10-year deal, and they haven't dismantled any of their centrifuges, so they're able to start that right up. Well, I've got to conclude here. I want to sort of slide to the end so that you can at least get the big picture. So here's what's happening now. Israel's sitting here. Now Israel has Hezbollah immediately north, and they also have Syrian troops just across the northeast border into Syria. Israel says, it's an existential threat to us. We cannot allow Iran to stay there. We will not allow. So we have been bombing any military establishments that in Syria by Iran. However, Russia's sitting here and doesn't want this fighting back and forth. And finally, the other day, Vladimir Putin said to Israel, look, you don't have to do that with Iran. If Iran fights against you, we'll fight on your side against Iran. And if you fight against Iran, we're going to fight on Iran's side against you. So now all of a sudden, Israel's got to think, whoa, if we attacked Iran, look where we are. Well, that's some of the things that's going on right now. And that's what's being discussed in our White House today. Oh, there's a whole lot more to this. It's shocking when you take a look at it. If you'd like to know more, call us. 800 End Time is the number. That's 1-800-363-8463.
Israel, there is no other place like it on the face of the earth. Over 4,000 years ago, God gave this land to Abraham and his seed and said that he would put his name in Jerusalem. The world watches as this tiny nation stands in spite of all the obstacles. Irvin and Judy, along with the End Time team, would like to invite you to travel with us to the Holy Land. This trip will be a wonderful and life-changing experience. Our Spring End Time Prophecy Tour will have the privilege of being the first End Time tour to visit Jerusalem as the recognized capital of Israel. Some of the highlights will be the Mount of Olives, the Temple Mount, the Tomb of Jesus, the boat ride on the Sea of Galilee, the baptisms in the Jordan River, and we will also visit Petra in Jordan. If you would like to experience the Bible in full color, join us April 26th through May 11th, 2018. Call 1-800-END-TIME, that's 1-800-363-8463, and press 2, or go to endtime.com/Israel Tour to receive your information today.
Do you believe we're living in the end times? If so, what's the one magazine you should subscribe to? End Time is the magazine designed to guide you through the end times. Irvin highly recommends End Time magazine so you can stay informed with what's going on in the news and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Call 1-800-363-8463 and get End Time magazine for 2 years for only $29. Call 1-800-END-TIME or go to endtime.com to take advantage of this special offer.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archives button.
It's been a while since I've been able to take your calls between traveling and conferences and many other things. We've not had a call-in day, so right now is your chance. If you have questions or comments you'd like to give, the number to call is 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. And you can give your questions or comments. Now, if you want to reach our operators, that number's 1-800-END-TIME. Let me pause just a moment to ask you, in case you're not yet, please become a partner with End Time Ministries, because we have got huge things that we've got to do. And when I talk about all these prophecies, frankly, I almost panic a little bit. I'm saying, oh God, are we going to be ready when this whole thing breaks? I mean, you think about a war that kills 2.5 billion people. What's the world going to look like during that war? And what's the world going to look like after that war? It is going to be unprecedented chaos. And someone who understands what's going on is going to need to give guidance to the world. Now, here at End Time Ministries, we are working with all of our might to be ready. We're installing sophisticated new software that's going to help us tremendously. We're trying to get everything prepared. We're building the Jerusalem Prophecy College. We now have over 1,000 in our online college. But if you're thinking about signing up and you haven't yet, don't neglect it just because we're to 1,000 now, because we've got to go much further. If you have signed up and you're part of the End Time 1,000, then I'm urging you, go as fast as you can. You know, sometimes we get started on something, we're excited, and then after a while we lose steam a little bit. Don't let that happen to you, because let me tell you, the prophetic clock is ticking right now. So it's going to be very important that we keep on moving. Now, here at End Time Ministries, we have a need that we'd like for you to pray about. We're installing this wonderful software that should take us to the rapture. However, my tech staff tells me here that our computers are antiquated, outdated. They tell me that our computers are about 2008 and some of our servers are older than that. Well, they normally say a computer should be 3 to 5 years and servers should be 5 years. Well, now here we are sitting on servers that are 10, 15 years of age. So here's what I'm saying to you. If you're out there and God's blessed you, where you could help us with a special offering, it's going to be quite an expensive adventure, but if God has really helped you and blessed you, consider giving a special donation towards the renewal of our infrastructure. This is the last big piece of the puzzle to fall in place here, and it would make me feel so wonderful if I knew that everything is in shape and we're ready to pull the trigger, because I'm just afraid that these wars are going to break loose. You know, we were talking today about the war that's going to happen out of the Euphrates River. I don't know for sure who's going to be involved. All I can tell you is that Russia is sitting on one side of the Euphrates, America's on the other side of the Euphrates, and on February the 7th, Russia tried to launch a bridge across the Euphrates to allow Syrians to invade the eastern area controlled by the United States. Well, we caught it on satellite and we put our bombers in there and bombed the thing to smithereens. We killed 500 people. Looks like about 200 of those were Russians. Well, it's a thing like this that causes you to say, whoa, wait a minute. So what did Russia do? The very next week, they moved in the finest jet fighters they have, Su-57. They say they're faster than our planes, that they're able to overcome us. I don't know whether that's true or whether that's not true. All I'm telling you is what I'm reading. And then the next week, they brought in 2 or 3 more in order to put Russia in a dominant position there. And they're also saying, America, you need to get out of Syria, because you're not invited here. Bashar al-Assad did not invite you. Well, the problem is we were against Bashar al-Assad. So anyway, these are the tensions that are building right now. And this war, frankly, could blow up at any time. Do I think the war will happen before the peace agreement? I've thought that for a long time, but I don't know for sure. I still don't know for sure. But the way things are moving right now we're talking about Israel sitting here saying, Iran wants to have bases just across our border, and we're not willing to let that happen. But Russia's saying, if you attack Iran, then I'm going to attack you. And here America is, and we are maintaining control of East Jerusalem because Iran cannot complete her land bridge as long as we control East Jerusalem. And we just 3 days ago dropped an additional 1,000 troops in there to control where Syria, Iraq, and Jordan meet. There's a 3-way place there, and it's a very strategic place. And we just dropped another 1,000 troops in there to make sure we can hold that place. So I have to be faithful to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's hot over there right now. Could it blow up in World War III? Yes, and when I say World War III, I'm talking about the Euphrates River War. I'm talking about the 6th Trumpet War. It's all the same thing. Revelation chapter 9, verse 13 through 16. So what I'm saying to you out there today is become a partner with us. We've got to move fast, faster than we've ever been moving. And if you'd like to make a special donation to a very critical need, then please make a donation for our infrastructure here at End Time Ministries, because we're hoping to take our game to a whole nother level. We're hoping to be able to sit right here and do interviews with people all over the world. When this war breaks, Fox News, CNN, all of the networks, they're going to need explanations. And when we tell them this is in the prophecy of the Bible, I believe we're going to have interviews with people from all over the world. And does that need to happen? Yes, because Jesus said, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, then shall the end come. So if you'd like to make that kind of a donation, call us, 1-800-END-TIME, and just tell them, I want to contribute to the IT department of End Time Ministries. Let's get this thing going. And let me tell you, when they told me the amount of money it was going to take, I said, oh my, I don't like to spend money on infrastructure and on software. I want to spend money on television, radio to reach the world. And I know all of you feel the exact same way. But if we don't do the necessary things, do the infrastructure, like President Trump has been saying, if America doesn't have a strong infrastructure, we eventually will not be able to make America great again. Well, that's the same thing here at End Time Ministries. So this is a vital need. You know, if Noah would have waited until it started raining to start building his ark, he'd have drowned. And here at End Time Ministries, we're not waiting to get ourselves set for the final dash across the finish line. There's a 7-year period coming as soon as that peace agreement is signed, and we need to be in full mobilization. We don't need to be messing with computers, with software. We need to be a well-oiled machine so we can answer your question, your neighbor's questions. We can minister to your churches, to the people around the world, and that's what, by God's grace, we're going to be doing. So if you want to help out, whatever you can do, whether it's a small amount or a big amount, whether it's $50, $100, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. If God's blessed you where you could give one of those big amounts, it would get us there much, much faster. So whatever you can do, but if you can't do anything but $20, do it if you possibly can. And if you can't do it, pray for us. Because, I don't ask for myself. I would not feel comfortable doing that. But when it comes to God's work and our destiny here in these end times, you're all we have. You're our partners. We have no other source of funding. We have no other endowments. I don't pastor a big church. I pour myself into End Time Ministries. So you are End Time out there. If you'd like to help us, please call us 1-800-END-TIME. Well, let's get right to the phones now. First of all, Joshua's calling from North Carolina. Hello, Joshua.
Hello, Irvin Baxter. How are you? I'm
doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I have a comment. I'm doing the Jerusalem Prophecy College.
Yes.
I'm on the 4th semester, and I'm going with you guys to Israel this spring.
Terrific.
My question and comment, how you want the 1,000 and more, and how you said you want to take the 1,000 there 6 months before the abomination of desolation. Do you think there's a chance that somebody that's doing the prophecy college that on their tour that God could call them to stay there to preach the word?
Well, that's going to be up to God. There's a lot of people that go with us that when they see Israel, when they feel the atmosphere, they have a desire to do it. And if God lets you know for certain, then do it. If not, then keep doing what you're doing. Now, you're preparing yourselves right now by going to the Jerusalem Prophecy College. You're preparing yourselves to be able to talk the talk. And when we go, we've actually got 2 End Time 1000s going. We got the 1,000 on the Jerusalem Prophecy College, and then we've got the 1,000 that's going to go to Israel about 6 months before the abomination of desolation and knock on every door of every Jew that lives under Palestinian control. So we've actually got 2 different End Time 1000s going here. I just happen to name them both that. But anyway, we'll just have to see, Joshua. We'll be together with you on this tour, and I know that God's going to use a lot of people before it's over with.
Yeah, because His will is the ultimate will, and His will be done if it's that time or if it's another time.
Okay. Well, Joshua, we're going to have a wonderful time together. I'll be with you guys every step of the way. I'll be on the buses. Every place where we stop for a prophecy point, I'll be talking, explaining what's going on there. There's nothing like it in the whole world.
Thank you, Irvin Baxter. Have a blessed day.
Okay, and thank you, Joshua. God bless you. You know, I believe God's talking to people all over the world about these things. God used me. Don't you want God to use you? First of all, we got to make sure we're saved ourselves, and then we've got to go save others. The Bible says, take heed to yourself. In doing this, you will save yourself and then those that hear you. So we save ourselves first, and once we're on the rock, then we can throw the lifeline out to those who are in quicksand and help them to get on the rock. That's what we're going to be doing until the day that Jesus Christ returns to this earth. Let's go now to Dan. Dan is calling from Georgia. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Brother Baxter. I have a comment and two questions.
Okay.
The comment concerns the Jerusalem Prophecy College. I also listen in to those lessons, but I think besides the lessons being so good, the outlines, whoever did the outlines did a fantastic job. I love those outlines.
Thank you.
My first question concerns the harvest of the tares and the harvest of the wheat. You always say that they're done at the same time. Now, we know the harvest of the wheat is the rapture. Does that mean that the people that are not part of the church will disappear also at that time?
No, it does not mean that, Dan. If you look in Revelation chapter 14, verse 14 through 20, there's another picture of the two harvests that gives us a more complete picture. It says that the harvest of the earth will be reaped, and then immediately after that, another angel reaps the vine of the earth and casts it into the winepress of Almighty God, which is the Battle of Armageddon, into the Valley of Jehoshaphat, also known as the Kidron Valley, outside the city of Jerusalem. And that's going to be when God is going to wreak vengeance upon those who have not been born again, who have rejected his lordship. So the two harvests, it will be the rapture of the church, but it will also be God executing judgment against all those that are invading Israel for the Battle of Armageddon. That's the picture.
Okay, so, but there'll still be other people on the earth that won't be part of the Battle of Armageddon.
And that's explained in Daniel chapter 7, verse 11 and 12, because there, in verse 11, Jesus Christ destroys the Antichrist and casts him into the burning flame. And that happens at the second coming of Jesus to the earth. And then verse 12, it says he then, the rest of the nations have their dominion taken away, their power taken away, but their lives are prolonged for a season at a time. That means the people on this earth that are not at Armageddon, and I don't know how God will determine who all these people are, but there will be mortals on this earth for another 1,000 years. I'll be right back.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter, the new book by Irvin's grandson, provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your connection to God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at End Time will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Order this brand new book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-863 or go to endtime.com/move.
Turn your scriptures from black and white into color. Experience the footsteps of Jesus. Understand Bible prophecy that is coming to pass right now. Join Irvin and Judy Baxter and the End Time team this spring 2018 for a life-changing trip to Israel and Jordan. Mark your calendar for April 26th through May 11th for this amazing journey. Call 1-800-END-TIME, that's 1-800-363-8463 and press 2, or go to endtime.com/Israel-tour to receive your information today.
I had to sort of finish up the answer to the last question rapidly. Let me make one more comment because it's very important. We know that during the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ upon the earth, that his church will rule and reign with him as kings and priests. Revelation chapter 5, verse 9 and 10 says that. We will rule and reign as kings and priests on earth. So once we're raptured, we'll meet the Lord in the air. We will receive our immortal bodies, and we will then go with him to the Mount of Olives to subdue the Antichrist, the false prophet. Satan will be bound, and that begins the millennium. A lot of people want to know, but who are the people that inhabit the earth during that time? And as I mentioned very quickly, in Daniel chapter 7, verse 11 and 12, the Antichrist is destroyed in verse 11, and then it says, as concerning the rest of the beast, and remember the beast, there are nations, as concerning the rest of the nations, they have their dominion taken away, but their lives are prolonged for a season at a time. So there will be many people left here upon the earth that will live as mortals to repopulate the earth. Now, I don't have the answer as to how God will judge who stays, who does not. I do think about this. That is when the children of Israel were sentenced to die in the wilderness because of their unbelief. That sentence did not apply to all that was below the age of 20. God did not hold them responsible for the decisions of their parents. I thought, well, could it be, Lord, that all the younger people below the age of 20, if that's your criteria, will they make up the earth? So I went to the internet to find out how many people in the world are below the age of 20. I found out that 1/3 of the world's population right now is below the age of 20. That's a lot of people. So I'm not saying that that is the answer. I don't know that for sure. All I'm saying is that it is so important for us to realize that there will be mortals on this earth for the next 1,000 years living in the era of the kingdom of God, and there will be no war. Not one war for 1,000 years. It is going to be peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Okay, let's go now to Richard calling from Minnesota. Hello, Richard.
How you doing, Irvin? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
I think those people that repopulate the earth are the Christians that are alive at the second coming. My understanding of Scripture is that the pre-tribulation rapture will happen, and then we're caught up together, meet the Lord in the end, and we come back with Him at the end of the 7-year tribulation. And then those who are alive and receive Christ then are the ones that repopulate the earth.
Well, you know, Richard, I held that view. Growing up, that's what I was taught. However, I hit some scriptures that caused me to doubt that view, because in Matthew chapter 24, verse 29 through 31, it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days will the sun be darkened, the moon will not give her light. Then shall the Lord send His angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather His elect. Well, I thought, now let me finish before you interrupt me here, Richard. So I thought, well, now maybe that's a second class that's going to be raptured at the end of the 7 years. Well, then I went to Revelation chapter 20, verse 4 through 6. It says there, I saw them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus. They did not take the mark. They did not worship the beast. These lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. And then it says, this is the first resurrection. That stopped me dead in my tracks. I said, wait. If this is the first resurrection, there wasn't a resurrection 7 years before this. And all of a sudden, then I put all the scriptures together, and it forced me to change my mind. I do not believe in a pre-trib rapture anymore. Now, a lot of people do believe in it, and it's not a salvation issue, but I'm simply replying to your opinion here.
Okay, well, I understand that, but you might have to look under what that first resurrection, meaning that it was the first resurrection at the beginning of the millennium, because it's Scripture is so clear. I mean, like in Revelation 4:10, where the 24 elders have crowns, and they cast them at the feet of Jesus, or the feet of God. And in 1 Peter, and I know in 2 Peter, it talks about, 2 Timothy, it talks about the future. He says, 2 Timothy 4:8, and in the future there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day, but not only to me, but all those who love to His appearing. Yeah. And so in Thessalonians, when it says we're caught up to meet the Lord in the air, we're given crowns, and we have them, and by the time Revelation 5 starts.
Well, first of all, in Revelation chapter 4, when it shows a vision of heaven in that particular place, do we believe that the apostles are in heaven right now? Of course we do, because the apostle Paul said to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And yet, when it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 that we will all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. Well, if you look at the last trump in Revelation, trump number 7, it says, when the seventh trumpet sounded, a voice was heard in heaven to say, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and his Christ, and the time that the prophets should receive their rewards. That happens at the last trump, at the end of the tribulation. Now, Richard, I know we could debate this for the next 1 hour, and I would enjoy very much doing it, but we got a lot of people waiting in line. I'll just say to you and to everybody else out there, I held your view for a long, long time until I was forced to change, and I was threatened by a lot of people. It would destroy my ministry and all that. Well, it didn't. But anyway, I now have made a tape called When Will the Rapture Happen? And I put together 1 hour of proofs that the rapture is going to happen at the end of the Great Tribulation period. Now, if people don't believe that, just stay ready. All of us must stay ready. Any of us could be killed today. So when the Bible says, be ye also ready, you got to stay ready at all times. And but anyway, I understand where you're coming from, Richard. Many, many, many people agree with you. I was forced to change my mind, I thought, by the compulsion of the scriptures. I'm going to let you go now. Thank you very much for your phone call. And let's get right back to the phones because the clock is ticking. Let's go now to Barbara from Illinois. Hello, Barbara.
Hey, Pastor, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
I am calling because I keep seeing these things on the internet that say Trump, of course, is moving the embassy to Jerusalem. And I believe he's doing it in May.
Yes.
But people are saying that it is going to be moved 50 years to the day of Israel officially gaining control of Jerusalem. And I wanted to know if you knew anything about that and whether or not it was true.
It's not true. It's 51 years because they took Jerusalem in 1967. Now, it is 70 years from the day of the birth of the nation of Israel, May the 14th of 1948. And Trump originally announced he was moving the embassy on May the 14th of 1978, which is exactly 70 years. However, they've now set it up 4 more days, and we're actually going to open the embassy on May the 10th. I saw today that Prime Minister Netanyahu now has invited President Trump to be in Israel for the opening of the new embassy. President Trump says he would love to be there. He doesn't know for sure whether he can or not, nevertheless, but it's not 50 years, it's 51 because Israel took control of Jerusalem, reunited Jerusalem in 1967, so that would be 51 years.
Well, thank you for clearing that up for me.
Okay, you're most welcome, Barbara, and thank you very much. Let me see. Let's go real quickly to Gary calling from Texas. Hello, Gary.
Yes, Irvin. My question is, I've heard a lot of Bible prophecy speakers speak about the Psalm 83 war. And can you shed some light on that? I'm not real familiar with that.
I've read that over and over again, Gary, and I have not been able yet to get out of it what they get out of it. It states there, when it starts, let me see if I can tell you exactly what, I've got it in front of me right now, if I can pull it back up real quick. It states there, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. And it also says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Now, that obviously could fit right now, but that's been done many times before. And it goes on to talk about the tabernacles of Edom, the Ishmaelites, of Moab, of the Hagarenes, and yet there's no evidence that Moab and Edom will be involved in a war against Israel, because right now, Jordan, which is where those countries are today, Jordan is a great friend of Israel. They just signed a $15 billion trade pact. And the Bible teaches that Jordan will never be occupied by the Antichrist. So when we look at these prophecies, the question is this the prophecy for 2,000 years ago or 2,500 years ago, or is this a prophecy for today? I have looked at this prophecy over and over again, and I cannot place it definitely today. That's all I can tell you. I know there's people out there teaching it's coming, but I can't see proof in Psalms 83 that it's a war for the immediate future.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I read it and I couldn't get anything out of it. So you kind of answered my question there. I appreciate your time. Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much. And Alan's calling from New Zealand. Hello, Alan.
How are you today, Irvin?
Doing wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, quickly, Zechariah 1, the first prophecy that the first vision that Zechariah was given, he's seen a man that was riding a red horse, and then he looked and he's seen red horses, white horses, and speckled horses. It goes on to say that these horses are walking to and fro on the earth, but it also goes on to say that they seem to have the ability to be tied into the earth, having peace and having rest. What's your understanding of that?
Well, you know, I'm very solid on the horses of chapter number 6. I have not been able to fully explain, or to my satisfaction, what the horses are in chapter number 1. But in chapter number 6, there are white horses, red horses, black horses, and one translation says grizzled and bay horses. Another one says speckled horses. But those are the same colors as Revelation chapter 6. The white horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the pale horse. The same colors are on both of those. So I am absolutely convinced that there in Zechariah 6, verse 5, it says, these horses are the 4 spirits that go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. I have not been able, for my own satisfaction, to say that I fully understand chapter number 1, so I'm going to have to beg off on that one, Alan.
Okay, all right, you got time for one more quick one?
Real quick.
Okay, in Ezekiel 38, it seems to talk about Israel being a kind of peace, and then from verses 12 through to 14, it seems to mention the nations that are coming against Israel, and it also mentions nations that seem to be against the invasion of Israel, Sheba, Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish, and the young lions, and it talks about them asking those that are invading about taking a spoil, cattle, and other things. What's your reasoning or thoughts behind that? Because it seems to be nations opposing the Antichrist invasion.
Let me answer you real quick because I'm out of time, Alan, but Ezekiel 38 is definitely the Battle of Armageddon, and it talks about Russia, Iran, Turkey, and others invading Israel. Now, there will be those standing aside saying, what are y'all doing? Are you going down to take a spoil? What are you doing? That's all I have time to comment on. I'm sorry, Alan, we came right up against the clock. So we'll have to talk about that more at a later time. You're listening to End of the Age. To contact us, call us 1-800-END-TIME and become a partner.
End of the Age is a production of End Time Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. End Time Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.